Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is September the 26th, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Friday to ya. Hopefully this episode finds you in a good place, in a good space. Hopefully you feel that Friday energy, whether you're listening on a Friday or a Monday, whatever day it might be. But we are coming in a bit early. At least I'm recording a bit early for myself. I took a personal day. This is a bit impromptu, though I was able to actually call it off, so that's nice. Good for my attendance. But yeah, kind of trying to make some plans, see if they happen. But overall, just got to have a nice day so far. Just chilling, relaxing. It's been very nice. I will go ahead and do a quick rundown. So we got up actually around the same time I normally would for work. And just kind of chilled for a little quick bit and then got laundry together so I could just kind of knock that out for the weekend, not have to worry about that. And actually had a very enlightening moment, I guess you could say. I was setting up for laundry, and and this is just random a note. I noticed that we've had a new, I almost want to say paradigm shift. Maybe, it's a new ownership, I think, of this laundromat that I go to. And I've been going there, oh my gosh, since I moved to this area. So since I moved to Ohio, since around 6 years old. So, 29 years I've been going to this laundromat. It's a really, in my opinion, a good laundromat. And, they have good washers and dryers. So I feel pretty used to them, familiar with them, whatever. But this guy comes up to me and I know he's worked here. I've seen him before. I think he's like an owner. And he was explaining to me, he's like, oh, just so you know, you actually don't need to use 4 caps of detergent on these. They work really well, and you actually only need to use a fourth of that. And I was kind of go, oh, okay, cool, man. Thanks. Right on. That's dope. And, in a way I was kind of like, man, I wonder how real that is, but I might as well give him, the benefit of the doubt here. And I compromised. So I used, because what he meant by caps is essentially the levels on the cap. And so I was like, all right, I'll do the Pepsi challenge here. I'll take him up on his word. And I used half of it. And I was like, all right, if this works, and next time I will do exactly what he says and just use 1. Because he even added, he's like, actually, by using 4, you're actually overwashing your clothes. I was like, oh, okay, cool, man, thanks. I didn't really ask, but appreciate the wise advice. So took him to task on it, and tried it out, and I'll say he was on it. He was right. So for 29 years, I've just been wasting laundry detergent. So that's cool. That's nice. Love that for me. But overall, it's all good. I will take learning a lesson whenever I can. I feel like that is the best way, is to try to be humble and say, hey, this is a good thing. I learned something new today. So laundry did come out fine. Post laundry, we went, obviously back home, fold everything, put everything up. Then we went to the gym. Gym was good. It was a good gym session. I hit a new PR on my max deadlift. I've only been able to, so far up until today, I think I was able to get 2. I think now I could say we hit 5, maybe 6. I'm not entirely sure if we want to call it full, but it was close enough for me. But just hitting that amount was nice. I was like, okay, good. We're making progress, because to a certain extent, it sucks not being able to really go beyond where I'm at right now, which is at 315. But I've told myself, hey, we're going to let our deadlift kind of do the leading. And when I feel more comfortable with the deadlift, then maybe we can talk about going up. So not quite yet, but we're on the road. We're making progress, and that felt good. I will say, though, weirdly, I had an emotional moment, and this happens sometimes. I will find a way or place to, I'll find a time to cry, to get emotional. I don't know why I do that. I guess the answer is because I'm a fucking human being, you know what I mean? But I was just listening to some music, and this random song that came on because I was listening to actually this new Glaive album. I believe called Y'all. It was a good album. I enjoyed it, but I mean, I don't know. I've just been on listening to some like emotional hyper pop shit lately. So plays this song. I think it's like about his grandparents or something to that effect. I'm not entirely sure. But it just made me think about my parents who raised me. And like, I'm over here trying to do a Bulgarian leg squat, like just getting weepy. And luckily, it wasn't too busy at the gym, and wasn't too many people in my area. Just kind of took a quick sit and let myself have that moment, and then I got back up. I got back at it. Did some goblet squats, and we moved on. But yeah, I mean, I've realized that throughout my life, I just I kind of just have those moments of just like, oh my gosh, I'm about to start crying. And I just cry. Like, I don't know. I've never been a person who like, oh, you gotta be a man. You gotta hold it in. Like, no, like if I'm emotional, I'm emotional. Like, so I'm just going to have the moment. So, a little weird, but it's happened before. I don't know that it can kind of, I think, also happen too, because I can just get really into a thing at the gym, and like sometimes my zone is I just go to that place, and there they are. But anyway, that was a moment. But overall, it was a good workout. We rallied, and the pump was solid, the cardio was solid, and post that I came home, and I was doing some research for this episode. And I just realized I didn't have that dog in me. And I was just like, I need to take a nap. So I took a nap. And that was a really nice nap. Not too long. Hopefully it isn't going to jam up my plans for tonight or anything like that. We'll see. Knock on some wood. But sometimes you just got to, take care of yourself. And use the day to do that. You do the whole rest and relaxation thing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Overall, though, got back up, and here we are, ready to yap. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into some news. Yeah, I think so far the only place I haven't like cried in terms of like, oh, aerospace situation is when I'm like out with my friends, which is really nice. And once again, knocking on wood, that I don't have an emotional moment where I'm all crying and weeping in Northside or something. That would not be cool. That feels a little vibe kill. I don't want to do that. So yeah, no, thank you. Plus, obviously, when I'm with my friends, I'm at my happiest. Like, usually, I'd say where I cry the most is definitely at work. I've definitely had, like, the most at work breakdowns. Obviously, at home, close second. And I guess now that I think about it, the gym might could be a third if I keep it up. If I keep up with my habits, I don't know. But hey, time will tell. And overall, it's all good. Anyway, let's get into it. First story comes from Local 12. And I gotta say, we're starting off heavy, like we usually do. What am I saying? Like, I usually almost never start with like, oh, and then and flowers grew and we made a new tree and we cured world hunger. That we've never done stories like that to start. I mean, it'd be nice, maybe one day. But no, sorry. It's like a nightmare. Mother of 5 reportedly crushed by packages, dies in UPS facility. A mother of 5 tragically died after reportedly being crushed by packages at a UPS facility in California. Shelma Reyna, 43, was said to be working alone inside a cargo trailer on Sunday when several packages fell on her, according to police reports. A coworker discovered her and called for help. According to KGO, her family said there was a machine malfunction. Reyna died at the scene. Reyna had been employed at the facility since last fall. I feel horrible. I started crying and I can't believe it. It's like a nightmare, said Juan Iscalbecita, her ex-husband. Also, I have a picture of Reyna in the thumbnail. And then also, it's worth noting too that she does have a GoFundMe set up if you would like to donate. There is a link in the article. Richmond Police Department spokesperson Lieutenant Donald Patchkin stated via KTVU that the incident appears to be an industrial accident. Family members reported that other UPS workers suggested it may have been 4 hours before she was found. So I mean, obviously this is very grim. This is very fucked up, and condolences go to Reyna. and her family. But I do hope that maybe some kind of changes can happen where either you can put some sort of security and safety measures in place where you don't have this kind of thing happen again, or at least make it less likely to happen. Because no one should die on the job. No one should be at their work doing their job, doing the best they can to make a living, and then die doing it. You should at least have that kind of safety. So yeah. But moving on, we have another story from Local 12. Missing man found alive in basement after years-long ordeal. 3 others held captive. A South Carolina man missing for years was discovered alive in a basement where he and 3 others were held captive. His wife was found dead at the scene. It really makes me sick that I couldn't do nothing, said Teresa Henson, the victim's sister. Police uncovered the grim situation in July, finding the victims in the basement of a house owned by Donnie Ray Birchfield Jr., who is now charged with false imprisonment and neglect of a vulnerable adult. 2 victims were women who dated Birchfield, and 2 others were the married couple considered vulnerable adults. The 35-year-old Birchfield Jr. would assault the victims and not allow them to leave. He's accused of using the victims' credit cards and bank accounts since September of 2022. Birchfield Jr. allegedly made personal purchases, paid for his own credit card bills, and paid for services with that money. Henson described her brother as 70 pounds and feeble when she saw him in the hospital, adding, he really didn't say anything because I think he's still in trauma and shock. So yeah, a very sad, grim story coming out of South fucking Carolina. I don't know how he was able to do that. I would love a more detailed breakdown to give you, and maybe one day I can come back with that, with the trial and stuff like that. I don't know, but I haven't heard too much coverage out of this. Once again, I pulled this out of Local 12, but I mean, wow, very deep, very heavy ass fucking story. So yeah, I mean, I really feel like you could do a limited series on just this guy alone for a podcast or a TV show or something like that. So, I mean, hopefully we can come back to more details about the situation. But until then, I do have an update from a mass shooting from NBC News. NYC shooter Shane Tamura had CTE, medical examiner says. A gunman who suspected he had CTE when he killed 4 people and himself in a Manhattan office building in July did in fact have the degenerative brain disease, a medical examiner said Friday. Shane Devin Tamura, 27, who played high school football, had ambiguous diagnostic evidence of low-stage CTE or chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I think I got that. The New York City medical examiner said. The brain disease is caused by repeated head injuries and is most commonly associated in the U.S. with NFL players. But researchers say Tamura is far from the first young athlete to develop CTE, despite not having played sports after high school or college. We know we have a lot of cases like this. We know high school football players can get CTE, said Chris Nowinski, co-founder and CEO of the nonprofit Concussion Legacy Foundation. Nowinski said Tamura's findings should be a wake-up call to football coaches and other leaders in the sports world and trigger stricter guidelines for America's most popular sport. We don't need any more research to convince high school coaches to change the rules of the game. There needs to be a will to do it. So yeah, I mean, obviously what happened was grim. It was fucked up. I really don't want to get into the details of what Tamura did that day. We've talked about it. And he inevitably took his own life. Asked for his brain to be examined for CTE, and now it's found to be confirmed. So that's kind of really what I wanted to more or less focus on, obviously. And I would hope that this is a wake-up call and that is a sound alarm, that it's we do need to do something, because we're not talking even necessarily about just NFL, but we're talking about the high school. We're talking at a young age is where he developed the CTE issue. And, you really can't do anything about it once you get it. You can only do things to hopefully prevent it and make it, not as common. But that being said, do I think that there's really going to be any change? No, sadly, no. I have heard conversations, at least on the NFL level, about potentially getting new helmets, because that is definitely an issue that tends to make it more prolific. But I mean, I think that's only part of it. I mean, also, you could run this conversation down all the way. Do we need contact sports entertainment? No, I think that these things have been proven for the worst, not just NFL. I mean, if you just kind of run down the list of things. But, you know, I know that we're always going to have our bread and circuses. That is just how this fucking shit works. But putting in rules, putting in equipment to make it better, even if it's not as aesthetically pleasing, even if it's not as fun, it takes away from the game, so to speak, is probably for the best. You know, so that you have less moments like this where, you know, where people, you know, doing something like this, a mass shooting or suicide. It's also worth mentioning Rudy Johnson did pass away this week. It's a bit of a local, you know, Cincinnati Bengal mention, but he took his own life. Now they don't know if he had CTE, but it is, you know, potentially suspected that he did. But yeah, I mean, sadly, we're just going to see more stories like this. Another thing worth mentioning, they mentioned in the article, Aaron Hernandez, riddled, like his brain was just riddled with this. And, you know, definitely led to a lot of his erratic behavior, I'm sure. Also, another note to last podcast on the left, they are doing, or they've done, an extensive deep dive on Aaron Hernandez, his story, and they do mention CTE a lot. In fact, they do mention the story of Tamura as well. So yeah, I wanted to kind of just give that update, you know, from that situation. Obviously, once again, condolences to the people who lost their lives in that situation. That was a senseless thing. I still believe in taking responsibility and not just saying, hey, I'm going to do this moment and, you know, whatever. But, you know, at the end of the day, you took people's lives and that didn't need to happen. You know, like, yeah, you're trying to send a message. That's not the way to do it. So I never want to advocate that, but I do want to advocate for people, you know, going through this issue, CTE, and try to say, hey, that, like, we should do something. It's just not fucking worth it. But I know that falls on a lot of deaf ears. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on though to our next story. Actually, it's our last story. We're coming back to the Comeys again. Comey's got a mention earlier this year in terms of Maureen Comey. She lost her job after the Diddy case, but, you know, I did also add that there was a little bit more to that. She also did the Epstein case, and her dad was the subject of who we're about to talk about now. But yeah, let's go ahead and take our last break. I need to take a water break. I'm parched. And then we'll go ahead and close this story out. Water break and then some. A bit of side news. I know I'm a bit behind on the news today because I took the day off, and I'm often a little bit like I don't get to hit all my episodes and stuff. You know, I'll catch up, of course. But I did hear, I was on the internet and whatnot, I saw some headlines that apparently Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, back in fucking America at the UN talking shit, and there was actually leaders who walked out on him. So, I mean, hey, I'll take it. I mean, at least it's something. Once again, a symbolic gesture, sure. But, you know, yeah, you don't have to fucking sit here and hear that bullshit. But yeah, I mean, we might come back to that in more detail maybe tomorrow. But fucking, yeah, boo that man. Anyway. Ooh, I double dip the chip. Ooh. All right, from the Hill. Ex-FBI Director James Comey indicted. 5 things to know. We're not going to go exactly over the 5 things. I'm just going to say that. Most of this is going to be a little bit of riffing. But by all means, if you want to get the whole download, check out The Hill. Former FBI Director James Comey was hit with 2 federal charges late Thursday, days after President Trump ramped up pressure on his Justice Department to prosecute his most prominent adversaries. We talked about this a little bit with Letitia James. It's actually coming out of Virginia as well. It lines up because I think with Letitia James, if I'm not mistaken, could be very wrong, that with one of her estates, it lines up in that regard. So that's why it's coming out of Virginia. And then with Comey, he did interview with Congress that is being used in this indictment. And essentially, he was living in Virginia, did the voice thing, whatever, voice thing, Zoom call, you know what I'm talking about. So they're saying, hey, this stems out of here. And most importantly, with the James Comey thing, there's a timeline. I think they had, if they were going to do this indictment, they had until Tuesday, and then the statute of limitations were going to kick. So that's why Trump was scrambling. He's like, I don't care if you guys think there is something here or not. You need to charge him. So I'm going to hire a new one, and that person's going to do it. They're going to do what I ask. They're going to make this indictment happen. So the counts stem from testimony Comey gave before the Senate in 2020 as it probed investigations into ties Trump's 2016 campaign had with Russia, which the president has long decried as a witch hunt. While Justice Department officials have portrayed the indictment as a step toward accountability, Comey said his heart is broken for the agency and that he is innocent. Comey is set to be arraigned October 9th in federal court in Alexandria, Virginia. His case will be overseen by U.S. District Judge Michael Nachmanoff, an appointee of former President Biden. Let's see. Comey's indictment includes 2 counts: false statements to Congress and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. The felonies can carry a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison. Though convicted, Comey would be a first-time offender who would likely receive a lesser punishment. They stem from an exchange between Comey and Senator Ted Cruz from Texas during Republican from Texas, obviously, during a September 30th, 2020 Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. I mean, you know Ted Cruz. If you've been listening to this, at least we've mentioned that weirdo. Anyway, Cruz asked Comey if he had ever authorized a leak about the FBI's investigations into Hillary Clinton's emails and connections between the Trump campaign and Russia. The question zeroed in on conflicting accounts between Comey and his former deputy, Andrew McCabe, regarding a leak to a Wall Street Journal about the Clinton investigation days before the 2016 election. McCabe had indicated Comey knew about and authorized the leak. Comey maintains he was unaware and that McCabe, in a conversation after the story published, implied he too wasn't involved. A 2018 Inspector General report sided with Comey's account, saying McCabe authorized the leak and lacked candor when he told his boss and later investigators that he didn't. What Mr. McCabe is saying and what you testified to this committee cannot both be true. One or the other is false. Who is telling the truth? Cruz pressed. Comey responded, I can only speak to my testimony. I stand by the testimony you summarized. The indictment does not identify a specific news story, but the charging documents allege Comey authorized an unnamed person 3 to leak details of an FBI investigation. ABC News and CNN reported Friday that refers to Daniel Richman, a Columbia Law School professor who has previously confirmed leaking a memo he received from Comey detailing the then director's interactions with Trump. The false statements charge requires prosecutors to prove that Comey knowingly and willfully made false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement to Cruz, and it was material. The obstruction charge requires prosecutors to show that Comey is making a false statement, corruptly endeavored to influence, obstruct, or impede the due and proper administration of the law. Comey is charged in the Eastern District of Virginia because his congressional testimony was given remotely from his home in McLean, Virginia, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I think this is a bit loose in terms of the indictment. Otherwise, this would have happened way sooner. I think people were not keen to try this because back then they didn't have the juice to do it when they initially tried the first time. And now you're trying to make this last-ditch effort to make it happen. And you're like, no, we're going to go all the way with this one. We got to. I mean, so we'll see if it sticks. If I'm being honest with you here, because this is where I just kind of want to riff and let this go, because we'll be back to the story for sure. I don't care about Comey. I don't really care about the Comeys. Just because now they've switched and they realize that Trump's such a problem. It's like there's a reason you were picked by this man in the first place. Oh no, you're mad that the snake bit you? I don't know what to tell you. I'm not surprised. Like you got a conscience in the last minute, in the last quarter, and you're like, oh, okay, this is wrong. Like we don't have a case here. We can't do this. We can't do that. We're not going to go all the way with this. And now guess what? Now it's coming. The Trump train is running after you now, brother. I don't know what to tell you. That's how this MAGA moves. I don't know, man. But that being said, I would love for Trump to lose. I would love for Trump not get what he wants. So in this regard, I guess I am rooting for Comey to beat the case. You know what I mean? Good luck, I guess. But in terms of, do I think he knew? He knowingly leaked. He was the leaker. I think there's enough for me to think yes. This is obviously me being speculative. I think though at the same time, I don't think the government has enough evidence, because you have to be in his head and his state of mind. I mean, you do have McCabe and you do have the Richmond guy. If they both step up and say, hey, we were knowingly involved in this, you can say conspiracy here, and, we made the leak happen. Well, then we've kind of proven that Comey knowingly lied to Ted Cruz. And there's weight to that. They also have another quote here with, what's his name? Lindsey Graham. Ham and biscuits, y'all. I don't care. I'm not going through that. It's the end of the episode, and I don't feel like quoting him. But yeah, I mean, we will see. Like I said, we'll be back to the story. I kind of was like, do we even cover it now or later? But I figured, hey, we'll do a little bit of introduction to it, and then, maybe do some highlights or just whenever we get some kind of heads or tails on a verdict or, where we're going with this, what's up. But anyway, that's it. That's all I have. Let's see. Oh, I guess we could say who the person was. Lindsey Trump swiftly installed Lindsey Halligan, who was tapped as an interim replacement. Halligan, a White House staffer who practiced insurance law before she joined his criminal defense team in 2022, has never tried a federal case. So really just threw her to the fucking wolves here because she said, yes, I'll do it. I'll do what you ask. And I mean, I'm just going to say it. It looks like his type. It looks like a type of lawyer that he would be like, yeah, I want you to be the lawyer on this. You're the top dog for this one. So yeah, we'll see how that all goes. Anyway, that'll be it. That'll be the episode for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/AzaneNews. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, AzaneNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. And all the stars are appreciated, whether it be on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But really, if you don't do any of those things, you're just a lurker, you're just hanging out, you're just listening, and you've listened all the way here, thank you so much. That really is the maximum. That's the best thing you could do. I appreciate just hanging out with ya, and hopefully this made your little day. You made your day better. Your little day. Your big day. It's your big Friday, baby. Yeah, let's go. All right, no. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye bye. Mwah.